Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Tombstone Tourist. I'm back at the Cross Mausoleum here at Woodlawn Memorial Park, and this is going to be my last video from this very large mausoleum. In past videos, I've visited the final resting place of such stars as Jerry Reed, Ernie Ashworth, Liz and Lynn Anderson, along with little Jimmy Dickens and Jim Ed Brown. This week, I'm going to wrap up my visit here on the West Hall by visiting the crypt of the First Lady of Country Music. Here is the final resting place of Tammy Wynette. Virginia Wynette Pugh was born on May 5, 1942 near the small community of Tremont, Mississippi. Earlier this year, I visited that area of Mississippi and made a stop at the Tammy Wynette Legacy Center, which is just a short distance off of Interstate 22. The Legacy Center has a small museum that highlights her time here in North Mississippi, but also her success as one of country music's most popular performers. It displays some of Tammy's stage dresses and a few other personal artifacts, along with photos taken throughout her career. Tammy attended Tremont High School, where she was very popular with her fellow students. In fact, she was voted Miss Tremont High School in 1960. Tammy got married at 17 and worked as a cosmetologist. She later moved to Birmingham, Alabama, where she again attended beauty school because her Mississippi cosmetology license wasn't recognized in Alabama. In Birmingham, Tammy's uncle worked for WBRC-TV, and in 1964, he helped secure Tammy a spot on the Country Boy Eddie's television show. The show aired from 6 to 8 a.m. and paid Tammy $45 a week. Things were tough for Tammy in Birmingham. Money was scarce and her marriage was in trouble. So Tammy left Birmingham and moved to Nashville, where she soon divorced her husband. In Nashville, Tammy met and married her second husband, a man named Don Chappell. The couple developed an act and hit the road while attempting unsuccessfully to secure recording contracts from several labels. Things looked up for Tammy in 1966 when she met Billy Sherrill, who signed her to a recording contract with Epic Records. It was Sherrill that changed her name to Tammy Wynette. Tammy's first record with Epic was Apartment Number 9, which reached number 44 on the Billboard Country charts. In 1967, Epic released Your Good Girl's Gonna Go Bad, which topped out at number 3 on the country charts. She followed that up with her first number 1 hit, I Don't Want to Play House, which won Tammy a Grammy for Best Female Vocalist. In 1968, her success continued with hits like Take Me to Your World and Divorce. With her success, she began touring and had several tour dates with country star George Jones. It was during this time that Tammy recorded what would become her biggest hit, Stand By Your Man. Stand By Your Man won Tammy a second Grammy and an invitation to join the Grand Ole Opry. In 1969, Tammy was named the Academy of Country Music's Female Vocalist of the Year. Tammy's success, exhausting tour schedule, and a rumored romance with Jones put a strain on Tammy's marriage to Chappell, and the two's marriage was annulled in 1968. A few months later, on March 16, 1969, George Jones and Tammy Wynette were married. George and Tammy's marriage was challenging and well documented, to say the least. But despite the challenges, the couple recorded several hits together, including We Go Together, Golden Ring, and We're Gonna Hold On. George and Tammy were married from 1969 until their divorce in 1975. Following their divorce, Tammy continued to perform and tour as a solo act and was romantically linked to several notable personalities, including Burt Reynolds. On July 6, 1978, Tammy married her fifth husband, a songwriter, record producer, and publisher named George Ritchie. like most of her other marriages, it was filled with drama and turmoil, and it put a strain on Tammy's relationship with her family and several of her friends, including George Jones and Lori Morgan, who believed that Ritchie only cared about Tammy for her money and her name. Tammy's daughters claimed that Ritchie enabled their mother's well-documented problems with drugs and alcohol. Nevertheless, George Ritchie and Tammy Wynette remained married until Tammy died in her sleep at the age of 55 on April 6, 1998, at her Nashville home. The official cause of death was listed as a blood clot in her lungs. A few months after her death, Tammy Wynette, the First Lady of Country Music, was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Resting in the crypt next to and just below Tammy Wynette is the final resting place of singer, songwriter K.T. Oslin. K.T. Oslin was born in Arkansas on May 15, 1942. When she was 5 years old, her father died and her family moved to Mobile, Alabama, and later to Houston, Texas, where she graduated from high school. It was while in Houston that K.T. began performing in local clubs and restaurants. She also developed an interest in the theater and took a role as a chorus girl in a traveling musical called Hello, Dolly. When Hello, Dolly ended, K.T. moved to New York to pursue an acting career. She remained in New York for 20 years, appearing on Broadway in such shows as Promise, Promise and West Side Story. In 1986, K.T. moved to Nashville, where she tried to secure a recording contract. Most of her efforts failed until RCA producer Joe Galante signed the 45-year-old Oslin to a contract. In December 1986, RCA released K.T.'s first single, called Wall of Tears. In 1987, K.T. and RCA released 80s Ladies, which K.T. had written a few years before. The song became her first major hit, peaking at number 7 on the Billboard country charts. The song would win K.T. a Grammy for Best Female Country Vocal Performance, and it was the Country Music Association's Song of the Year. As a result of the success of 80s Ladies, K.T. embarked on a demanding tour schedule, playing dates with the likes of Alabama and George Strait, while playing a large number of solo dates. Her success continued into the 90s, which saw her perform at Carnegie Hall alongside Clett Black. But over time, the rigorous tour schedule and the constant demand on her time that success requires began to take its toll on K.T.'s health, requiring her to take several long breaks over the next few years. Despite these breaks, K.T. continued to have health problems, including a bout with depression and undergoing triple bypass surgery. Then, in 2015, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and a year later moved into an assisted living facility in Nashville, where she would remain until her death at the age of 78 on December 21st, 2020. Moving on down to West Hall, just a few steps from Tammy Wynette, is the crypt of one of rock and roll's most influential songwriters, Otis Blackwell. Otis Blackwell was born in Brooklyn, New York on February 16, 1931. Growing up in New York, Otis got his start when he won a local talent contest at the Apollo Theater. This led to a recording contract with RCA, where he released his own composition called Daddy Rollin' Stone. While he enjoyed some early recording success, Otis found out that his first love was songwriting. His song Don't Be Cruel led to a long and successful association with Elvis Presley. While the public may not have known who Otis Blackwell was, they certainly knew his songs. In addition to writing Don't Be Cruel, All Shook Up, and Return to Sender for Elvis, he also wrote such hits as Breathless and Great Balls of Fire for Jerry Lee Lewis. In addition to Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis, his songs have been recorded by such stars as Ray Charles, Otis Redding, Billy Joel, James Taylor, Dolly Parton, and Conway Twitty, just to name a few. Otis Blackwell is considered to be one of the greatest R&B songwriters of all times, while also being considered one of the greatest innovators in the creation of rock and roll. Otis Blackwell was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1986. He passed away at the age of 71 on May 6, 2002, here in Nashville, Tennessee. Well, this wraps up my visit to the Cross Mausoleum here at Woodlawn Memorial Park. Over the past several weeks, we've visited the final resting place of some of country music's most notable stars, most of whom are resting along the west hallway here on the third floor. As we walk down the hallway, country music memories come flooding back as we pay our respects to people like Jerry Reed, Liz and Lynn Anderson, Ernie Ashworth, Felice and Boudreaux Bryant, Jim Ed Brown, and Little Jimmy Dickens. Today, we've remembered Otis Blackwell, K.T. Oslin, and the First Lady of Country Music, Miss Tammy Wynette. If you have a special memory of these people or any of the people that we visit in these videos, I hope you'll share your memories with us in the comments. Most of the videos on this channel are cemetery related, and I try to post a new video every Sunday morning. So if you enjoy this type of content, I hope if you haven't already, that you'll consider subscribing. By subscribing and hitting that like button, you're really helping this channel grow. Now, until next time, please remember, life is a wonderful journey. Be sure to take time and enjoy it. And I'll see you down the road. So long, everybody.